You definitely need to sit down and do the inner work, do the reflection, do the introspection, ask why certain things affect you the way they do, and really sit with that, right? Welcome to Off the Dome with Coach Ash. I'm Coach Ash, and I am a faith-based cycle breakdown identity coach. And today, this is day one of our 90-day series, and we are picking our first topic. And our topic for today says how childhood wounds show up in adult relationships. Now, this is a topic I know all too well, and trigger warning for anyone that may have experienced any SA. We know what that means now. I'll put it up here somewhere. For me personally, I had some trauma. For those of you that know my story, for those of you that don't, when I was 10, I was SA'd, and when I was 16, I was also raped. And so during that time, I didn't tell anybody about either situations. One, because I felt like I was at fault. At the age of 16 and at the age of 10, I felt a heavy responsibility to try to keep relationships together, which was not my place as a child, but I didn't want to ruin other people's relationships, and so I just kept quiet. Knowing that and seeing how my life played out, now that I've gone through the work, I've done the introspection, I've done the healing, I can see how those two particular instances, they actually affected how I showed up in my relationship. Two things that it really showed me was that I didn't believe I was worthy. My sense of self-worth was diminished, especially at the age of 16, because I said no adamantly, and still this thing happened to me. And so my sense of self-worth diminished. And it also put me in a place where I was longing for affection and love. And I would choose unhealthy relationships where I would have to prove myself. And the ones that the love was reciprocated, I felt like that person was weak. And I'm not someone that had daddy issues, but I do think that growing up in a single parent home, I wish my father was there. So I do think that played a big part, because I felt like there was a lack of love from the male figure being present every day in my life, and so I sought that. And so we see that childhood wounds, if not dealt with, they show up in our relationships. Another thing that happened was because I kept this as a secret for so long, I didn't share this until 24 years later and share this with my parents. And so I found that I kind of isolated myself. I preferred being on my own. I was very private. I didn't let a lot of people in, and I felt like people really didn't know me at my core, because I felt like I had to have a boundary up. And so we find that people who go through difficult situations, childhood trauma, and is still living from that, whether consciously or unconsciously, because I did not realize that I was living from that, but I realized that a lot of the things that triggered me stemmed from these wounds. And so we see that whether you're unconscious or conscious about it, it affects how open you are with people. It affects how you show up, whether you distance yourself, whether you're overly possessive or protective, or you cling to people or you distance yourself. You see these show up when you have childhood wounds. So I think that when it comes to the healing process, that you definitely need to sit down and do the inner work, do the reflection, do the introspection, ask why certain things affect you the way they do, and really sit with that, right? One of the exercises that I love to do with my clients is called 7 levels deep. And so we set a goal, and then we sit down and we reflect, why is this goal important? So what is the goal and why is it important? And then when you've established the initial why, then we ask, why is that why important? And we keep doing that for each why we've established to get to the root of really what is driving you. I think this is such a great topic, and if that helps you, if you can relate to it in any shape or form, drop a comment below. I'd love to hear from you. I read all the comments, and if you have any topics you want me to discuss, be sure to drop them in the comments as well. If you got value, drop a V in the chat, let me know, and I look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow.